Hey everyone, this is Angela from Bake It With Love, and today we're making another Irish dish because St. Patty's Day is just around the corner. Of course, it's good any time of the year. So this is an Irish apple cake. We're going to make it in a 9-inch springform pan. You can use a regular pan if you want to, but it is much easier to get out of a springform. If you're going to use a regular cake pan, make sure you have at least a 2-inch depth on that cake pan, and I would line it with parchment paper so then you can just lift it on out. So we're going to get started. We're going to cream together this butter with some sugar here and go from there. So add your sugar to your butter, and we're going to cream this until I have a nice fluffy consistency. I have my butter all creamed together. I am going to start adding some of my other dry ingredients. Because I'm using salted butter, I'm going to just put a pinch of salt in. I've got about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and because I love freshly ground nutmeg, we're going to grind some in here. If you're not a fan of nutmeg, it's not necessary, but you're missing out. Now you're going to do about a 1/4 teaspoon to a half a teaspoon of your ground nutmeg. Okay, I'm going to mix that in so that it's evenly distributed before we add our flour. We're going to work this into our creamed butter and sugar. We'll add our flour, and then we'll fold in our apples. I'm going to use a food processor for my apples. You can chop them. They're peeled, and I'm using, instead of Granny Smith, I'm using a sweet tart variety that's a firm apple. They're Ambrosias. Your Honeycrisp, Braeburns, any of them that are tart, sweet, and a firm apple will work beautifully in this apple cake. You can add your flour, and then we'll mix this in too. If you have a pastry cutter and you want your pieces to be finer, your crumble here, you can use that. Stir in your flour. Like I said, use your pastry cutter if you want to break up your pieces now with the flour a little bit more. Then we will fold in our apples after I run them through my food processor, and then we'll combine our eggs and our milk here and add that last. You just want to make sure that your creamed butter and sugar is evenly distributed throughout the flour now. I'm going to food process my apples. They are peeled and cored, and we'll be right back. Okay, so all of my apples are added. They're pretty finely chopped here. You're going to go ahead and work that into the flour. You want your apples nicely coated here. I wish I had a bigger bowl right now. I'm just going to try and turn everything here real quickly before we add the liquids. My oven's preheated. 375 degrees in your oven. And make sure that your rack is set to the middle of the oven so that when you place your apple cake in the oven, it's about middle of your oven for best even baking. So pretty much all my apples now have some kind of flour coating on them, which is what we want. Okay. You can get another bowl and combine these, but they will fit in your measuring cup. And then grab a spoon and whisk those together. Not a spoon, a fork. Use your fork and just the egg in to combine it so that it's thoroughly combined with your milk mixture before adding it into your cake. If you'd like to add some vanilla, you can here too. And then go ahead and add it to your flour and eggs here and stir this all together. And if you're wondering why I'm not worried about adding any vanilla into this, is because we're going to do a custard to go on our cake when we serve it. So that will be an added bit of sweetness. And I love the texture and the consistency of this cake. So it doesn't really need anything extra, but we will make that. And just make sure that you've stirred it and gotten every bit of your flour moistened. And my 9-inch pan is looking kind of small. Let's see if it fits. Those were really big apples. So Okay, we've got all of our Irish apple cake batter here in our 9-inch springform pan that is liberally coated with butter. You can use butter and flour as well. You can use a spray coating like your Bake Easy or something like that. And then make sure all your batter's off your spoon here. Okay, and your oven should be preheated to 375 degrees, and then we're going to place this in the middle of the oven. Okay, this is our Irish apple cake. It's just out of the oven, still a little warm here. I'm going to let it finish cooling here in the springform before we remove our cake from the pan. Hey everyone, so we have our beautiful Irish apple cake made, and it can stand alone all by itself, but this custard that we're going to make for it is wonderful. Just to drizzle over the individual pieces when you serve it. You can drizzle it over the cake and just kind of let it stand that way. If you want, it will get soggy, but definitely, you know, refrigerate this in between serving your pieces of cake if needed, and enjoy. So what we're going to do is we're going to whisk these eggs, and then we're going to heat our milk and our sugar here, kind of a medium, until we get a low boil, and then we'll start tempering our eggs by adding just a little bit at a time so that we don't cook our eggs. And we'll get that all of the liquid into here, and then we're going to cook it back in the saucepan on low heat until we get a small boil too. So low boil. 1.5 cups here of heavy cream, and 1/2 cup of white sugar. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to turn it down so it's only like medium heat, a little shy of medium, and I'll get these whisked. There we are. The vanilla is going to be last thing, so I'm just going to leave all this sitting here while I wait for my sugary heavy cream now to come to a low boil. Okay, I've got a boil just beginning to start. That's good enough for me. I'm going to remove this from the heat. Until my stove top there is done. Stir for a second. And you just want a little bit in with your eggs, and you want your eggs moving when you're doing it. Just add a little bit so that the temperatures, you know, because we have really hot scalding milk here and room temperature eggs. So I just want to introduce that heat a little bit at a time. Until I have enough, the beginnings of a mix here, and then I can add a little bit more of a drizzle. Just keep doing that until you have it all added, and then we'll transfer this back to the saucepan. When we transfer it back to the saucepan, we'll cook it for a few more minutes, keep it moving again with the whisk. It'll thicken, and that's when you know it's done. And you don't want it to be too thick. You want it to have a nice pouring consistency, but it should be kind of, I don't know, between yogurt and a runny yogurt, I guess. You should be able to drizzle it, but it should be a nice thick, kind of glaze-like consistency. Put it back into the saucepan. Put it back on. Put it down so it's not too hot. And keep whisking it while you cook it. It's going to be 2 to 3 minutes before it's thickened up. And then when it gets to the right consistency, we'll add the vanilla in. We'll remove it from the heat, add the vanilla, and then it is ready to serve over your cake. Okay, we've got a good heat on this. We don't want it to come to a full boil. If anything, a low boil. We only want a simmer basically while we're waiting for this to thicken up. So we've got a good consistency starting right now. It looks like really, really wet, runny scrambled eggs, but that is it. I'm going to add my vanilla in there. want to get it out of the saucepan so it gets out of that hot pan. Alright, so our vanilla custard is made here. We're going to let this cool down before slicing up our Irish apple cake and showing it served. So our Irish apple cake is a never fail recipe. Always turns out great, fabulous, and never disappoints. We have another cake in the refrigerator and the Irish lamb stew on the stovetop ready to dish up for dinner. I mean, what more could you ask for? The house smells amazing. Wish I could share it with you. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, please remember to give us a big thumbs up, comment, let us know that you like it, what we're doing. As always, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Hit the notifications so you don't miss our uploads. We're so glad to have you here with us. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.